This is today's Bible reading. Transition Saul's last days. Saul was clearly aware that David would succeed him as king. This fear he had revealed early on to his son Jonathan. Later, in a unique encounter with the man who would become his successor, Saul extracted a promise that his family be spared the usual fate of the families of displaced dynasties. David's inevitable kingship did mean that no reconciliation would be possible between Saul and David. The last chapters of 1 Samuel record David's activities during Saul's last years. When it became clear that Saul's hatred would not allow David to participate in the life of his people, David contemplated going over to the Philistines, a step he finally accepted. David would spend much of his exile among the Philistines at the town of Ziklag. Saul received information on David's movements from informers, more than once from the residents of Ziph in the Judean wilderness. Saul did not receive any message from God, however. Faced with the silence, he resorted to necromancy, the summoning of the spirits of the dead. Though common in the ancient Near East, the practice was prohibited in Israel. In his efforts to escape Saul's grasp, David often hid in the deserted region east of Ziph, known as the wilderness of Ziph. The people of Ziph remained loyal to Saul, and their messages to Gibeah telling him of David's whereabouts are remembered in the superscription of Psalm 54. The book of 1 Samuel 26, 1 through 30, 31. David allied with the Philistines. And David said in his heart, "Now I shall perish some day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape to the land of the Philistines. And Saul will despair of me to seek me any more in any part of Israel. So I shall escape out of his hand." Then David arose and went over with the 600 men who were with him to Achish, the son of Maok, king of Gath. So David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, each man with his household, and David with his two wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's widow. And it was told Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he sought him no more. Then David said to Achish, "If I have now found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you?" So Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. Now the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was 1 full year and 4 months. And David and his men went up and raided the Gishrites, Girzitites, and the Amalekites. For those nations were the inhabitants of the land from of old, as you go to Shur, even as far as the land of Egypt. Whenever David attacked the land, he left neither man nor woman alive, but took away the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, the camels, and the apparel, and returned and came to Achish. Then Achish would say, "Where have you made a raid today?" And David would say, "Against the southern area of Judah, or against the southern area of the Jerahmeelites, or against the southern area of the Kenites." David would save neither man nor woman alive to bring news to Gath, saying, lest they should inform on us, saying, "Thus David did." And thus was his behavior all the time he dwelt in the country of the Philistines. So Achish believed David, saying, "He has made his people Israel utterly abhor him. Therefore he will be my servant forever." Royal cities of the Philistine lords, 1 Samuel 27:5. The activities of the Philistines as they settled in Canaan by the middle of the 12th century BC were centered on 5 cities: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, Gath, and Gaza. These cities are all located in the southern coastal plain. It is natural that this region was selected by the Philistines since they were part of a larger group of peoples called the Sea Peoples, all of whom came from coastal areas. The fighting between the Philistines and the Israelites was in many ways a geographical struggle. The Philistines resided in the coastal plain, while the Israelites were the people of the central hill country. The Philistine encroachment into the hill country was so forceful that Israel was provoked into a change of leadership from the religious leader Samuel to the political and military leader Saul. While only 5 cities are specifically designated as a Philistine, each of these royal cities oversaw the activities of nearby smaller towns or villages. Ziklag, which was given to David by the Philistine king Achish, was probably a vassal town to the Philistine royal city of Gath. In this way, the sphere of the Philistine cities was much wider than might be supposed. 5 Philistine lords ruled over the many country villages affiliated with the 5 royal cities. Philistine pottery appears in Canaan about the middle of the 12th century BC. While centered in the coastal area, some pottery has also been found in the Shephelah, the foothills of the hill country, and even in the hill country. This should not be surprising since Philistine military outposts spread to the very hometowns of both Saul and David. The 5 Philistine cities sought to add subservient cities to their realm, but Saul, David, and their kinsmen, ardent opponents, stood in the way. A guide for divine wisdom, 1 Samuel 28:6. In a revelation to Moses at Mount Sinai, God not only established Israel's priesthood, but also provided a means for direct communication between the priesthood and himself. The vehicle for this communication was located on the breastplate of judgment, a decorative square linen piece that hung across the high priest's chest. It was attached to the priest's gown by 2 gold chains that were connected at the shoulders. On this breastplate were 12 stones inscribed with the names of the 12 Israelite tribes. The most remarkable feature of the breastplate, however, was the 2 additional stones called the Urim and Thummim. The Urim and Thummim were used to ask God specific questions. A leader with a question would go to the high priest, who would inquire before the Lord for the questioner. Questions were formed so that a yes or no answer could be given. Presumably, the appropriate stone glowed. In the stories of David, the Urim and Thummim stones are often indicated by the calling for the ephod, the high priest's garment to which they were attached. Saul's diminished relationship with his God is starkly underlined by his failure to receive a divine answer either by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. The picture is of a desperate Saul being ignored by his deity. Eventually, Saul turned to witchcraft for guidance. Obtaining answers from God via the Urim and Thummim seems to have ceased or at least become out of vogue after the time of David. From Solomon's reign until the Jews returned from Babylon, the Urim and Thummim are mentioned only by the governor of Judah. Whether they actually were used even at that time is questionable. The governor may have referred to the Urim and Thummim as a way of stalling would-be priests who lacked evidence of the proper priestly genealogy. Now, book of 1 Samuel, chapter 28. Now it happened in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for war to fight with Israel. And Achish said to David, "You assuredly know that you will go out with me to battle, you and your men." So David said to Achish, "Surely you know what your servant can do." And Achish said to David, "Therefore I will make you one of my chief guardians forever." Saul consults a medium. Now Samuel had died, and all Israel had lamented for him and buried him in Ramah, in his own city. And Saul had put the mediums and the spiritists out of the land. Then the Philistines gathered together and came and encamped at Shunem. So Saul gathered all Israel together, and they encamped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. And when Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, that I may go to her and inquire of her." And his servants said to him, "In fact, there is a woman who is a medium at Endor." So Saul disguised himself and put on other clothes, and he went, and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And they said, "Please conduct a seance for me, and bring up for me the one I shall name to you." Then the woman said to him, "Look, you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the spiritists from the land. Why then do you lay a snare for my life, to cause me to die?" And Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, "As the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing." Then the woman said, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" And he said, "Bring up Samuel for me." When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman spoke to Saul, saying, "Why have you deceived me? For you are Saul." And the king said to her, "Do not be afraid. What did you see?" And the woman said to Saul, "I saw a spirit ascending out of the earth." So he said to her, "What is his form?" And she said, "An old man is coming up, and he is covered with a mantle." And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed down. Now Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" And Saul answered, "I'm deeply distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me and does not answer me any more. Neither by prophets nor by dreams, therefore I have called you, that you may reveal to me what I should do." Then Samuel said, "So why do you ask me, seeing the Lord has departed from you and has become your enemy? And the Lord has done for himself as he spoke by me. For the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David, because you did not obey the voice of the Lord, nor execute his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore, the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also deliver the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines." Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground and was dreadfully afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no food all day or all night. And the woman came to Saul and saw that he was severely troubled, and said to him, "Look, your maidservant has obeyed your voice, and I have put my life in my hands and heeded the words which you spoke to me. Now therefore, please heed also the voice of your maidservant, and let me set a piece of bread before you and eat, that you may have strength when you go on your way." But he refused and said, "I will not eat." So his servants, together with the woman, urged him, and he heeded their voice. Then he arose from the ground and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fatted calf in the house, and she hastened to kill it. And she took flour and kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread from it. So she brought it before Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they rose and went away that night. Amen. This is the end of the Bible reading today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. God bless you. And see you tomorrow.